2 out of 3 Gen Xers never got a tattoo. You're one of them. Every so often it comes up. Someone at a cookout notices your bare arm and asks, the way people ask questions they're embarrassed to ask. Wait, you don't have a single tattoo? Small pause. You watch something shift behind their eyes. For half a second, you became suspicious. Interesting. Principled. Stuck in 1987. They can't decide which. You shrug, refill your cup, and move on. But part of you noticed how genuinely surprised they were. I'm Frank, by the way. That's me. And there's a real psychology behind that blank arm. More interesting than most people assume. Here's where you sit, historically. You are the bridge generation on tattoos. You watched the practice shift from biker culture to mainstream reality. You were the first group of 20-somethings who could walk into a clean studio in a strip mall. You watched friends, siblings, and co-workers show up with ink in casual, steady numbers. Pew Research tracked it. About a third of all Americans have a tattoo today. 46% of adults aged 30 to 49. 56% of women under 30. The Ipsos number for your generation lands around 32%, with at least one tattoo. The rest have nothing. No ankle butterfly, no tribal armband, no cursive quote on the collarbone. Not even the small one nobody knows about. You were eligible. You were available. You were exactly the right age. And you sat it out. Fear is the wrong explanation. You weren't scared. The real question is what stopped your hand every single time. Because it almost didn't stop, did it? You walked past a studio one night with friends and felt something flicker. You said maybe out loud, at least once. And then something quiet inside you said no. A soft, almost inaudible no. Repeated for 30 years. The first thing that voice was protecting you from was permanence. People say permanence like it's a flat word. Your brain heard it differently. You're 22, sitting in a tattoo chair, picking a design. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a voice asks, will you still like this when you're 40? Most people brush that voice off. You couldn't. You tried to picture 40-year-old you, and that person was a complete stranger. You had no idea what that person liked. No idea what they'd find embarrassing. No idea who they voted for or what was playing in their car. You thought, I am not making a permanent decision on behalf of someone I haven't met yet. That right there is the psychology. Most people don't see their future self as a different person. They assume it's just current them with a few more wrinkles. You knew better. You'd been a completely different person at 15 than at 22. 40 was not going to be the exception. This is one of the quiet truths about your generation. You have an unusually honest relationship with the fact that your tastes change. You watched yourself love Limp Bizkit and then quietly stop loving Limp Bizkit. You wore a goatee and then took it off and apologized to a mirror. You held a political position firmly and then watched that position become something else entirely over time. By 25, you had enough data on yourself to know the data wasn't stable. So when someone handed you a needle and asked you to commit forever, you couldn't. Honesty was in the way, and the data backs you up. Roughly 1 in 4 tattooed Americans regret at least one of their tattoos. The pattern is clear. People who regret got their tattoos significantly younger than those who don't. The 22-year-old version of you was statistically correct. Now, layer 2. The wave. You sat out tattoos precisely because everyone around you was getting them. Read that again. The popularity itself triggered the refusal. You watched the first wave, the tribal armband. A guy on your softball team came back with one in 1996 and walked around like he'd been transformed. You watched the second wave, the lower back piece, the Chinese characters that turned out to mean soup, the dolphin on the hip, the dream catcher, then the infinity sign with the word breathe written through it. The matching tattoo a couple got the day before they broke up. The barbed wire nobody talks about anymore. The koi on a coworker who couldn't tell you what koi actually means. You watched the same design appear on 3 different people at the same bar in a single week. You appreciate a good tattoo as much as anyone. Eye-rolling isn't your move. You aren't that person. You just noticed. Noticing without joining in? You've done that your whole life. The tattoo industry was the first major test of a specific instinct you have. The instinct that says, if everyone is suddenly doing the same thing, slow down. Pause. Watch a little longer. See where it actually lands. When you slowed down, what you saw was this. Most of these people were getting whatever tattoo was popular that year. The one their cousin had. The one they spotted on the wall when they walked in with no plan. A lot of people picked something that wasn't really theirs, and then called it permanent. That made you back up. You were refusing the wave. The ink itself was almost beside the point. Some part of you has always been allergic to the sentence, everybody's doing it. Marketing research has confirmed this for years. Your generation consistently scores highest on what researchers call the BS detector. You sense group enthusiasm and instinctively step back from it. Your untattooed arm is one of the clearest pieces of evidence for that instinct. Many of you have been sharing stories in the comments, childhood memories, parental influences, patterns you never connected before. Those messages are what moved me to write a book about it. Psychology of Gen X. Link in the description. And to everyone already on the Patreon, you're what keeps this channel going. Ad-free viewing. Your name in the credits. All the links are below. Layer 3. This one most people miss entirely. There's a concept in psychology called costly signaling. A peacock grows an enormous tail. Surviving despite it announces, I am strong enough to carry this. I can afford it. Tattoos operate the same way. A tattoo says, I am committed to this. I will wear it forever. I endured pain so you could see it. That is the signal. You send the opposite signal. Your blank arm says, I haven't found anything I trust enough to wear permanently. I'm still listening. I haven't locked in. That is also a signal. Quieter. It won't get attention at the cookout, but it points to a real personality type. Someone who hasn't finalized themselves. Someone keeping a few doors open. Someone who watched others lock in too fast and chose not to follow. A 2012 study compared personality profiles of tattooed and non-tattooed individuals. The tattooed group scored higher on extroversion, sensation-seeking, and need for uniqueness. They scored lower on conscientiousness. The non-tattooed group ran the opposite pattern: higher conscientiousness, slower to commit, more cautious with visible decisions. That's the polite way of saying you think things through. The data captured a real difference. There's one more piece to this: the body itself. Most people don't think of their body as something they own. They treat it as background scenery. You don't. You've always understood, quietly, that your body is the one thing on this earth that genuinely belongs to you. Not your job. That can let you go. Not your house. The bank technically holds it. Not your relationships. Those can walk out. Not even your memories. Those distort over time. Your body is the only inventory with your name on it from birth. You don't deface your inventory. You think long-term about the things that are actually yours. Many of you grew up watching adults neglect the things they owned. Cars dying from skipped oil changes, houses crumbling from a roof repair someone kept postponing. You absorbed a quiet rule from all of it. The things that belong to you, you protect. You don't decorate them on impulse. So when someone hands you a needle and asks you to permanently mark your only body for an opinion you might not hold next year, your body answers before your mouth does. It says, "Don't touch the inventory. We need to drive this car another 50 years. That's a very Gen X kind of logic. Practical, quiet, unglamorous, and correct. I've been meaning to write this down for a while. A short book called Psychology of Gen X. It traces the things you do today back to the rooms and people that built those habits into you. Link in the description. Patreon's in there too. Now, the part most people don't say out loud. The identity part. When you ask tattooed people why they got theirs, the most honest answer is usually some version of, "I needed something to point to when someone asks who I am." Pew's data is striking on this. Around 69% of tattooed Americans say a major or minor reason was to honor or remember someone or something. The tattoo is a signpost, a label, a way of placing identity outside the body where others can see it. You never needed the signpost. Maybe you couldn't articulate it. Maybe you didn't have a prepared answer ready. But you knew who you were. You weren't walking around carrying an identity, looking for somewhere to mount it. This is one of the most underrated traits of your generation. Many of you carry a stable inner sense of self that requires no external proof. You don't need to wear the band shirt to prove you love the band. You don't need to post the vacation photo to confirm you actually went. You don't need to ink a lyric on your forearm to remember what it means to you. The meaning already lives inside. The arm adds nothing. Younger generations got tattoos partly because life online made identity feel unstable. They're watched constantly. Their bio has to declare something. Their face appears in thousands of photos they didn't consent to. Identity feels like a moving target. A tattoo nails something down. It says, "At least this part is real. At least this is mine. At least this part is fixed." You didn't grow up needing to nail anything down. You grew up with a self that was allowed to stay private. Nobody was watching. Nobody required proof. So the body stayed blank. One final piece, and it might be the strangest. You have a different relationship with regret than other generations do. Most people make a decision assuming they'll manage the regret later. They believe they can adjust, redirect, walk things back. A tattoo is one of the rare modern decisions you genuinely cannot walk back. Removal is expensive, painful, and incomplete. That makes it one of the few truly committed choices left in everyday life. Many of you are wired to resist making committed decisions you can't later refine. That is a feature, not a flaw. You've watched the world break enough times to know. The smart move is to leave room for the next adjustment. You don't want to be locked into the 22-year-old's politics. You don't want to be locked into the 22-year-old's relationship. You don't want to be locked into the 22-year-old's tattoo. You leave doors cracked. You hold options. You keep the receipt. This isn't indecision. Decisions get made. You just learned that anything fixed is usually waiting to embarrass you later. The tattoo is the fixed thing. You don't make fixed things lightly. That is a learned skill. Fear has nothing to do with it. So when someone at the barbecue says, "Wait, you don't have a single tattoo?" what they're really asking is why you opted out of one of the loudest visible commitments of adult life. The full answer is this: you run a different algorithm. You take permanent decisions seriously. You don't trust temporary urges. You don't trust group enthusiasm. You don't trust the version of you who picked the song you're now embarrassed by. And you won't staple anything to your body that the future stranger living in this skin will have to clean up. Here's the closing thought. In a world where everyone announces themselves at full volume, sleeve, bio, feed, quote on the collarbone, you became one of the last people who can still be a surprise. Someone who hasn't pre-broadcast every opinion before speaking. Someone whose identity isn't pre-printed on the packaging. Someone who held back, watched the wave, ran the numbers, and decided the cleanest move was no move at all. That is a 30-year decision. A long, quiet one. And it's completely fine. Yeah, not weird at all. Thanks for watching. All the links are in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.